and welcome to my channel. Today's tragic tale starts in Saginaw, Michigan. This is the story of 23-year-old Ann Paetz. The year was 1999. Before I get into Ann's tragic tale, I want to tell you a little bit about Saginaw where she lived. The city is divided by the Saginaw River into the east and west sides. The east side contains some of the most beautiful historic buildings with the most amazing architecture. There are a few residential areas with lumber baron style homes. The west side is mostly residential with a historic district known as Old Town, which is populated with several bars and a few locally owned businesses. The Saginaw County Courthouse is also located on the west side city and only blocks away from the Paetz family home. A few famous people started their lives in Saginaw, Michigan. The singer, Stevie Wonder, lived on the east side, and this historical marker is where his house once stood. Also from Saginaw, tennis player Serena Williams, actor Brian D'Arcy, and basketball player Jason Richardson. Now that you know a little bit of where Ann lived, this is her story. Ann Paetz was born on February 6, 1976, in Saginaw, Michigan. She was one of 4 children born to her parents. She loved art, and in the 8th grade she entered a tri-county art contest. She didn't win, but she got an honorable mention. She graduated from Frankenmuth High School in 1994. She attended the Pittsburgh Institute of Art in Pennsylvania. However, her ambition to get a career in art didn't pan out, and she ended up moving back home to Saginaw to live with her parents. In June of 1999, she was hired at Garber Nissan in Saginaw Township as a car sales associate. Thursday, July 1st, 1999. According to Ann's grandparents, she had come to their home in Frankenmuth and had dinner. Frankenmuth is a tourist town that is located 24 miles southeast of Ann's home. It is themed after a town in Bavaria, Germany. It is home to Bronner's, the world's largest Christmas store. It was also the town Ann attended high school. Later in the evening of July 1st, Ann met up with some friends at Bubba's Roadside Inn in Saginaw Township. Bubba's at the time was a family restaurant by day, but by night they had a DJ and it turned into more of a party atmosphere. A male friend of Ann's that she was with at Bubba's dropped her off at home around 1 a.m. on the morning of July 2nd. One of Ann's brothers saw her at home after 1 a.m. She made a couple phone calls to her boyfriend that went unanswered. She then told her brother she was going to get cigarettes. She was having trouble with her own car, so she left in her mother's tan Ford Contour. It was believed she was going to 7-Eleven, which was open 24 hours and just down the street from Ann's house. Ann never returned home. On the morning of July 2nd, around 2:40 a.m., Ann's abandoned car was found on Vienna Road, which is a highway known as M57. The car was approximately 30 feet past the entrance of the Marshall Crossings Mobile Home Park in Montrose. The car was facing west and the back end was out in the road, which drew attention to it. The keys were still in the ignition and the driver's side window was partly rolled down. There were no signs of a struggle in the vehicle. A wallet with no driver's license and fresh pack of cigarettes were in the car. There was some damage to the rear passenger side just above the tire. Gray paint scrapings were found near the damage. There was also grass and dirt found in the vehicle's undercarriage, consistent with being run off the road. This stretch of M57, where the car was found, is sparsely populated with houses spread pretty far apart. A landfill takes up a lot of the area and is across from the mobile home park. The area is 2 miles in either direction from populated business areas, one being Clio and the other being Montrose. However, the road is an exit off the I-75 interstate. Around 4 a.m., Ann's mother received a call from the Genesee County State Police Post saying they had found her car. She was confused by this, but When she checked, sure enough, her car was not at home, and neither was Anne. She woke up her son, which was not the son who had seen Anne earlier. Mother and son headed down to Clio to pick up the car. The damage to the car hadn't been there the day before, according to Anne's mother. Anne's mother proceeded to take the car back to Saginaw, but there were issues with the tire. The wheel well had been damaged, so she dropped it off at the local mechanics. Later, on July 2nd, around 7:45 a.m., a female jogger discovered Anne's fully clothed body lying in a patch of grass just off East Farron Road in Thetford Township. The woman was spooked by this and didn't want to get close enough to examine it, so she went home and told her husband what she thought she'd seen. The husband returned to the area and confirmed, "Yep, it's a body." Thetford Township is part of Clio and is located in Genesee County, which was 30 minutes southeast from Anne's home in Saginaw County. The location of Anne's body and where the car was found were 13 miles apart. When the car was found at 2:40 a.m., it wasn't considered a crime scene since Anne's body hadn't been found yet. Police and the crime lab were investigating the scene where Anne's body was found. It was in tall grass right near the road with no attempt to hide it. There were multiple lacerations to her face, neck, and head. She had defensive wounds on her arm and restraint marks around her wrists. When the police considered the abandoned car and the body could be related, it was several hours later. A family member was asked to identify the body and confirmed it was Anne. The car was taken to the Bridgeport State Police Crime Lab to be processed. Bridgeport is in Saginaw County. There was a fingerprint recovered, but it turned out to be the mechanic's. Police, of course, needed to speak to the family. The brother who had seen Anne recounted his story about her saying she was going to get cigarettes sometime after 1 a.m. When Anne took off, this was not uncommon. She often went out late at night, but always returned home before she had to get up for work the next morning. Police interviewed the 7-Eleven clerk, who said the store was busy around that time. When shown a picture of Anne, he didn't recognize her. There was video, but it was poor quality, and there was a girl who looked similar, but the positive ID could not be made. Police canvassed all the convenience stores and gas stations between Saginaw and Clio. They found a Conley gas station that was on Vienna Road exit just off I-75, but the video was grainy and they couldn't confirm if it was Anne. However, the gas station was on the road where the car was found. The man who dropped Anne off at home after Bubba's was questioned, but he was ruled out. Remember, her brother had seen her at home after the man dropped her off, and she left home sometime before 2 a.m. Her boyfriend lived in Montrose, so police theorized she may have decided to go to his house because he wasn't answering her calls. She also had other friends in the area. The Montrose boyfriend was questioned and ruled out as well. Residents of the mobile home park where Anne's car was found were also questioned, but they could offer no further information. 4 days later, on July 6th, a 20-year-old woman was abducted and assaulted after leaving an Amoco gas station around 2:30 a.m. in Birch Run. Birch Run is in Saginaw County, just before Clio and the Genesee County line. The gas station was on an exit off I-75. The location where the gas station was at the time is now a Buffalo Wild Wings and Beggar Dave's restaurant. The 20-year-old victim told deputies the assailant followed her for 5 miles after leaving the gas station, then began tailgating and flashing his lights. She tried to lose him, but he ran her off the road. The road was rural and only 3 miles away from where Anne's car had been found. The man approached her car and stuck his hand through the window that was rolled down and unlocked the door. He showed her a knife and ordered her out of the car. She said he had wet swim trunks on underneath his jeans, and the attack lasted less than 10 minutes. The police were able to obtain footage from the Amoco gas station and released a written physical description of the man. He was described as having blonde hair with a short buzz cut, a stocky build, and a large tattoo on his upper right arm. The tattoo could be seen because he was wearing a black sleeveless Harley Davidson t-shirt, jeans, and work boots. He looked to be between the ages of 30 and 40 years old. Police did release a sketch of the vehicle. It was described as an extended cab, red pickup truck with either a gray or white stripe down the middle, with chrome rims and mounted lights on the roof. According to the Flint Journal, the man told the victim he was from West Branch and visiting friends in the Burt area. The Saginaw News reported the man told the clerks he was from the West Branch and visiting family in Burt. Who knows which version is true? It may have been made up to deflect where he was really from. West Branch is over an hour north of the gas station in Birch Run, and Burt is a community right next to Birch Run. Genesee County put out a Crime Stoppers bulletin offering a reward for tips leading to the arrest and conviction of the person responsible for Ann's murder. However, this sparked controversy between Saginaw County and Genesee County law enforcement agencies. Both counties were investigating the crime, and both had provided public tip lines. However, Saginaw only paid for tips that they received. This prompted people in the Saginaw County to donate money toward the Crime Stoppers reward. In mid-July, an 18-year-old female from Owasso said around 11:40 p.m. she was driving after leaving a store on M21, and a vehicle was flashing their lights and tried to run her off the road. But she was able to turn her car around and headed back to her boyfriend's house, and then the vehicle sped off. The vehicle description was a burgundy GMC with missing hubcaps. Since the girl was able to escape, she couldn't provide a description of the driver. Owasso is in Shiawassee County, which borders both Saginaw and Genesee counties. On Saturday, July 24th, two sisters aged 8 and 14 years old were walking on a bike trail in Clio when a man, Jack Dwayne Hall, approached and assaulted them. On July 26th, the police searched his apartment and storage unit, and the man was taken into custody after a shootout with the police. The police thought he could be a suspect in both Ann's murder and the 20-year-old assault victim. However, he did not fit the description. This frustrated Ann's parents as the police kept trying to find the man who assaulted the 20-year-old, determined that it was he who was responsible for Ann's death. Ann wasn't alive to give a description, and her father did not want the police to rule out Jack. Police hadn't entirely ruled him out, especially after Jack's brother told them Jack had a security guard uniform and handcuffs. He also said he found some IDs of women in a secret hiding place where they stashed their weed at the home they grew up in. However, Jack's mother threw them out, and it was never confirmed whether one of the IDs were Ann's. But her ID was missing, and she did have marks on her wrists that could have been from handcuffs. August 24th, 1999, another woman reported that around noon, a man driving on I-75 was attempting to flag her down to let her know something was wrong with her vehicle. He tried to force her into his truck, but she was able to fend him off. This time it occurred in Bay County, which is 30 minutes north of Genesee County. The description of the man and the vehicle matched the man who abducted and assaulted the 20-year-old in Birch Run. Bay County Crime Stoppers released a bulletin asking for tips as well as a sketch with more details about the suspect, saying he smoked non-filtered cigarettes, had decaying teeth, and was wearing a silver wedding ring. To put this into perspective, this map has highlighted some of the places mentioned in this story. I have highlighted Frankenmuth as that is where Ann attended high school, and you can see it is close to where she was found. People in Frankenmuth, Clio, and Birch Run tend to flow over into the same areas because of the close proximity. It would make sense that Ann would know people in the area where her body was found, and it was a theory that she was going to see her boyfriend who lived in the area. Saginaw is in the middle of Genesee and Bay counties, all along the I-75 corridor. Ann's attack seemed to happen as she crossed into Genesee County. The 20-year-old was near the Saginaw and Genesee County border. The only one that didn't seem to fit was the one in Owasso. However, this attempt was after the police released a description of the man's vehicle. He may have had access to another car. Also, the description of the vehicle in Genesee County didn't mention a cap on the back of the truck, but the description in Bay County did mention a cap. Perhaps the cap was added after the first description was released to the public. As 1999 was ending, police still had no leads in the murder of Ann. February 2000, Ann's parents posted a memorial to Ann on her first birthday after she left the earth. They have never chosen to speak publicly about the death of their daughter, but were very appreciative to the outpouring of support and generosity they received from the Saginaw community. In January 2003, details regarding a sterling silver ring Ann wore on her left hand had blood on it that was not hers. It was theorized that she punched the attacker, possibly in the nose, or he cut himself during the struggle. The DNA of 2 Clio men were tested to see if it was a match to either Jack Hall, who assaulted the 2 sisters on the Clio bike trail, or a panty-raiding murderer, Jeffrey Gorton, who made national headlines when he killed 2 women in Michigan. Neither was a match. Approximately 30 people who knew Ann were also tested, and their DNA was not a match. In July 2006, the DNA found on Ann's ring was entered into CODIS, but turned up no leads. I know of another YouTuber who says the person responsible for Ann's death is convicted killer named Thomas Bruce. There was indeed a Thomas Bruce living in Flint, Michigan at the time of Ann's murder, but it is not the same man. The Thomas Bruce who was pictured in the YouTuber's video lived in California in the 90s, and him and his wife Diane moved to Missouri in 2002. Missouri is where his crimes were committed. He never lived in Michigan. The document the YouTuber shows in his video is for the case of Jack Hall, who was convicted of the kidnapping and attempted murder of the 2 girls on the Clio bike trail and 2 other crimes. Remember, Jack's DNA was tested in 2003 and was not a match. That paragraph in Jack's case file was the defense arguing that the warrant the police used to search Jack's residence was for evidence in the Ann Paetz case and shouldn't have been used in the case of a crime he committed in 1993. I get it, the YouTuber is just trying to find Ann's killer, but unfortunately Thomas Bruce is not the person, and Jack Hall was ruled out. There were no other reports of women being forced off the road after the Bay County attempt. I checked in multiple surrounding counties where each incident occurred, and even as far as West Branch. Maybe the man changed his MO after so much exposure. In 2022, a cold case program at Western Michigan University had students looking into this case. They hint there is other evidence that may help in solving this case. As of 2024, Ann's murder remains a cold case. This year marks 25 years since she has been gone. I'm going to leave this sketch of the man that was believed to be responsible for running women off the road in Birch Run and Bay City, and possibly was the same man responsible for Ann's death and the attempt in Owasso. Of course, we don't know if this is the same man, but it would be helpful if he could be identified and have his DNA tested. He is described as approximately 5'8" to 5'10", was between the ages of 30 and 40 years old, stocky build, also described as heavy set, blonde buzz-cut hair, decaying teeth, large tattoo on his upper right arm, smokes non-filtered cigarettes, and wore a silver wedding band. The vehicles on the screen are what an late 80s or early 90s Chevy matching the description may have looked like. Obviously, they are only examples and not the actual vehicles. Chevy extended cab pickup truck with topper or Chevy Suburban. Red with gray stripe or in the middle or a white stripe in the middle. The Bay City attempt was done in the daylight brazenly on the side of the highway, so white is most likely the color, as the Birch Run attack happened at night. Mounted lights on the roof, which neither of these vehicles have. Chrome wheel rims. Here is an example of a pickup truck from that era without a cap. Here is another example of a pickup truck of that era with mounted lights. If anyone living near the Saginaw and Genesee County border communities knew a man in his 30s or 40s who looked like this in 1999 and drove a vehicle matching this description, please contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-422-5245. He may have been married, possibly died, or left the area in the fall of 1999. He could have even lived in West Branch or in Shiawassee or Bay counties. He may also have been visiting relatives or friends between the months of July and August of 1999, and not at all from any of these areas. He would be in his 50s and 60s in 2024. Now I would like to take a moment to remember how Anne lived. After she returned from Pittsburgh, she was the maid of honor in her sister's 1998 wedding. She began selling Kirby vacuum cleaners before landing her sales job at Garber Nissan. Her grandparents spoke about how Anne really loved art, but when she couldn't make it her career, she didn't let that get her down. She was very family-oriented and visited them quite often. She could sometimes be quiet. She was compassionate, outgoing, and happy. Her uncle described her as lovable and kind. He said she was one of the nicest kids he knew. She was very excited about her new job. Anne's siblings described her as a person who liked to have fun. Her brother has stated that the family still struggles greatly with the loss and hopes to find closure. Hopefully her murder will be solved as technology continues to evolve. The more people this video reaches, the better. Who knows, maybe someone out there knows something that can help solve this case. Thank you so much for listening. I will be posting more content like this, so if you happen to subscribe, I will catch you on the next video.